Hi, everyone, and welcome to the We Hack Purple stream event with Gabriel. Cloud, wait, what did we call it? Not somebody else's problem, cloud security. And so I'm Tanya Janca, I'm your host, but more importantly, I have a guest today, and he's going to talk all about cloud security. So Gabriel, would you like to take it away?
Okay, let me share my screen. So, hello everyone. Initially, I was planning a CloudSec 101 fundamentals for today, but then I realized that actually all of you have internet access, Google and YouTube. And well, there are many good courses that already covered cloud security fundamentals. So instead of repeating after the well-known materials, I've decided to do something different. So let's start. Just before we start, a short disclaimer. During this talk, I'm representing only myself, my own opinions and research, etc. So in general, it has nothing to do with my employer. So who am I? My name is Gabriel Wierzbieniec. I'm an engineer, Splunk architect, information security specialist. In general, I wear many hats. And as some of you may guess, I came from Poland, and since 2019, I'm enjoying expat life in Switzerland and obviously working for a Swiss bank. I hold multiple industry certifications, so you can consider me as your go-to person if you'd like to learn more about InfoSec certs. And I'm exploring cloud security since 2017, and I consider myself as an enthusiast. However, I do not think that migrating to clouds magically solves all your problems. And last but not least, I'm here at We Hack Purple community. So ask me anything, especially about cloud security. And well, this is exactly the topic I would like to discuss today. Yeah, we all know that there is no clouds. Some people treat this as a joke, while others think that it's a perfect description for cloud computing. Okay, but what about security? Is cloud security someone else's security? So who's responsible for cloud security? Any ideas? Yeah, I don't have any giveaways for your answers. Maybe a bar of Swiss chocolates, assuming you're planning a visit Zurich. So, as you may guess, shared responsibility model. So the general concept behind shared responsibility model is that the cloud provider is responsible for the parts under their control, while you're still responsible for the parts exposed to you. So if you can configure it, you're responsible for it. And what does it mean from security perspective? Your security team maintains some responsibilities for security as you move applications, your data, your containers, workloads to the cloud. The provider takes some responsibility, but well, not all. And the split of responsibilities varies by provider and service. So for example, like VM on-demand service like EC2, here, well, you have quite a lot of responsibilities like full OS config, hardening, patching, and well, if you have a service like a Gmail or, well, let's say Amazon Workmail, there you have just a few checkboxes. Yeah, and finally, compliance. Speaking about compliance, it may be easier to get certified in the clouds. For example, getting PCI DSS certification. Like in AWS is a certified PCI DSS level 1 service provider. So it's easier to build a PCI compliant solution on AWS, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still your company's job to make sure that you are actually compliant. And here we have a graphical representation of shared responsibility model. This is like a very traditional one. You've probably seen it 1,000 times. So that's just a quick reminder how it looks. So you manage basically everything on-prem, and then we have so-called co-location and hosting, like a data center for rent, for example. And the cloud starts with IaaS, so infrastructure as a service, where the cloud provider manages virtualization layer. We have PaaS, and finally we have SaaS, where you only manage your data, typically depending on the service. And here we have, well, basically the same model, but this is a version from ISC Square. So it's adding two things. First of all, it's adding this GRC layer on the top. GRC layer, which is always owned by the cloud customer. And the orange boxes, they describe the gray area where the provider and customer responsibilities intersect. For instance, let's say you're going to, well, disable TLS and choose to connect to your SaaS app over HTTP. Well, that's not a good idea, but that's your fault. But on the other hand, if you actually configure to connect to this service through HTTPS, and yet your provider allows HTTP access anyway, well, that's their failure. So that's the orange area where the responsibility is shared. Okay, now we know the theory. So let's examine shared responsibility model in practice. Oh, here's Azure. And you can see that, well, for IaaS is pretty clear. So Microsoft is just responsible for the Azure boxes. But for PaaS and for SaaS, you have some shared areas, which are half dark and half light blue. And yeah, we've seen Azure. So now let's just quickly jump to GCP. this is, well, basically a very similar set of bars. But speaking that, it's worth noting that this image is from a post about Google Kubernetes engine. And its purpose is just to give the user a rough idea about the service. And why I'm highlighting that, because in March 2021, Google announced a shared fate model for risk management, in conjunction with customers. So this new model from Google assumes an active partnership between cloud service provider and customer. So as you can see, Google already had a bit different idea how the cloud and cloud responsibilities should be shared. And last but not least, AWS, the shared responsibility wall model, I would say. And it's funny because the customer part seems a bit larger on this chart. And well, AWS job is to make the cloud secure. So you can see this is responsibility for security of the cloud, while the customer responsibility is for securing in the cloud. So okay, maybe that makes sense. Are you confused? Because I'm a little bit, and not only because we have so many charts, but we still have some, let's say, missing pieces. Like, okay, we have services based on containers and Kubernetes. We have Kubernetes as a service, container platform as a service. We have also serverless function as a service like AWS Lambda. And eventually we have so-called no-code solutions. So all the services that are supposed to have, let's say, little coding required. So how do we classify these services? So to answer that, we have an updated version of shared responsibility model. This is coming from Cloud Security Alliance, and it takes in consideration the most recent models of cloud computing. So Kubernetes as a service, container platforms, function as a service, and finally no code. These are like new additions to the old good shared responsibility model that we used to have since early beginning of the cloud. After we have reviewed all these charts, is good time for a summary. So let's list the common parts between all of these charts and, well, all of these models. So we have two areas which are always cloud service provider responsibility. So the cloud service providers are controlling the provisioning of physical resources through virtualization. And at the same time, they must ensure segmentation and isolation of CPU, GPU, storage, and memory. So this is always with the cloud service provider. And now your responsibility. So, well, cloud consumer or cloud customer have responsibilities. And as was mentioned, the ISC square model, GRC, so governance, risk, and compliance is always your job. It's not surprising. Your information and your data, that's also always your responsibility. Application logic and code, so what your developers are coding, you're responsible. Identity and access, this is also common across all of the cloud service provider. It's customer job to properly assign identities and access to cloud resources. And that also implies platform and resource configuration. So you're basically responsible for configuring your private cloud inside within the cloud service provider. And finally, we have this it depends area. So the short parts. And these are applications. So as I already mentioned, it can be one checkbox on your side. You can be totally fine with the default settings. So there are some services that are configured in that way. And on the other hand, some cloud applications may require a very robust set of settings to be pre-configured before you can use the app. Network controls. Typically the provider gives you some freedom within your VPC, so your virtual private cloud. However, obviously they don't provide router, switch, or firewall level access to their equipment. So this is also kind of shared responsibility. For operating system, it depends on the service type. You can get, or you're not getting the OS level access, and usually OS access is granted for IaaS type of service. So finally, the cloud is all outsourcing. So you pay someone to do a part of your job. What interesting, this is also the lawyer's view. The cloud is technically outsourcing. So you better understand what you're paying for and what to expect. So now, by now, the responsibilities of the cloud service provider and cloud customer should be more or less clear. And although the cloud service provider is not fully responsible for cloud security, they're still doing quite a lot on behalf of the customers. And that's probably good time to reflect about their security. So the fundamental question, can I trust my cloud provider? And what what I actually mean by that, can we trust that our cloud service provider's security is so good that they're unhackable? And well, no, that's obviously a no, because well, no one is unhackable. So well, okay, trust but verify. Yeah. Obviously, no InfoSec presentation in 2022 can be complete without trust but verify. Yeah. But can we verify that cloud service provider is doing a great job in the cyber field? So a typical practice is to review SOC reports. And by that, I mean system and organization controls. We have SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports. SOC 2 is focused on security, availability, and confidentiality. And for AWS, they're available through a self-service, through AWS Artifact Service. And SOC 3 reports, for example, for Amazon is publicly available. So okay, you can read the reports to make sure that they're doing a good job in InfoSec area. However, none of these reports will tell you that cloud service provider services are free of vulnerabilities, because they don't. And well, just for a good start, let's think about AWS Console. It must be the most secure place in AWS, right? And well, not really. So I've included this vulnerability as an example of a bug in the management portal. So here, basically, you were able to make an XSS on AWS Console through EC2 tagging. So if you ever been to AWS Console, that's really mind-blowing. And it's also interesting that this bug allowed to elevate console privileges to become account admin. So very nasty bug. Then that's just one of them. And let's see some other examples. And this is one of the vulnerabilities discovered by Orca security research team. And this was a vulnerability in AWS Glue Service. And what it does, it allows to access data owned by other service customers. So good to note is that it was quickly resolved by AWS. The issue was confirmed after a few hours and remediated after several next days. But what's important to note about this vulnerability, it breaks tenancy, or in other words, the isolation that cloud service provider is supposed to provide. And one more vulnerability from Orca, that was a XML external entity, a vulnerability that allowed data disclosure and server-side request forgery. So also a very nasty vulnerability in AWS Cloud Formation Service. And the exploit allowed to access internal AWS data, so the data of provider. And also the fix was prepared quite quickly, like around 25 hours, and fully mitigated after 6 days. And this vulnerability impacts cloud service provider security. So it could be used to exfiltrate internal provider data and compromise services. So we've seen quite a lot about AWS. So just a quick review about the most recent Azure vulnerabilities. And these were also very well known, discovered by Wiz, and this one allowed to, well, basically for a remote account takeover. That was a Jupyter Notebook local privilege escalation vulnerability. And it allowed the researchers to have an unauthorized access to customers' Azure Cosmos DB instances. And if you think about it, it's a bit similar to Superglue. In terms, it bypasses the isolation that the provider is supposed to provide. Well, also good note that it was mitigated relatively quickly by my Microsoft security team. And one more about Azure, so-called oh my god vulnerability. That was vulnerability in OMI, so Open Management Infrastructure Agent. This agent is deployed by Microsoft. It's installed silently during low collection setups. So basically, if you click, I want to collect logs from machine, it's going to install this agent. So this was actually a set of 4 critical vulnerabilities, and the one that's the one with the highest severity allowed an unauthenticated RCE as root. So well, and exploitation was very easy. So you were just removing the out header, and you are root. So CV severity for this vulnerability was 9.8 out of 10. And well, unfortunately for Azure customers, it resulted in wide exploitation. And now the most interesting part, Microsoft's initial statement for this: customers must update vulnerable extensions for their cloud and on-premises deployments. So that doesn't sound good, because well, it's basically something that Microsoft installs on your VM, and and what you're responsible for patching it. So that's really not good. And just to mention, similar agents are also running on different providers. So maybe we're going to see a similar vulnerability in the future. And bonus slide. So initially, I haven't got anything about Google Cloud in this presentation. So I thought, okay, maybe it's unfair. So I've added one example of a vulnerability in Google Cloud Platform. That also is quite interesting one because it allowed to take over a VM through DHCP flood, so an interesting one. And well, I've also included some more examples in the link below on this slide. So after some time, I'm going to share the slides and you could check some other vulnerability examples. And I just would like to mention that the second link lists several high severity vulnerabilities reported by researchers via a bug bounty program. And well, they actually have earned a fair amount of money by disclosing them. Okay, so the key highlights for today. As I mentioned, cloud is outsourcing, so all you pay someone to run your applications and host your data. And the key to understand cloud security is to understand your responsibilities. And finally, well, vulnerabilities can affect any provider, so better watch out for them and, well, polish your incident response plans. Yeah, so this is what I have about cloud security. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. I love the sharks in the cloud. Oh my gosh, your slides are so funny. That was great. There were some questions in the chat. So Mark had two questions. So his first question was the OMG God vulnerability or oh my God vulnerability. Was that found by Orca as well? Or was that someone else that found that one? If you don't know, it's okay, but if you know.
Yeah. No. Orca is, well, Orca reported vulnerabilities in AWS, and the two I presented for Azure, that was with security.
Okay, cool. Okay, so another question that he had, because he had lots of good questions. If we work at a specific company, how do we get access to SOC reports? Are those public as well? So, I mean, if you work somewhere, I would ask the SOC if you're allowed to see the SOC report. Gabriel, do you find those public?
Yeah. So yeah, you can create a free accounts for AWS. Go to AWS Artifacts and download these reports. So at least for AWS, I know that they're freely available for all the customers, regardless if you're an enterprise or if you're just one person and would like to learn what is Amazon doing in security area. I just go to AWS Artifact Service and you have the reports there. You can read them.
Cool, thank you. So Dan has a question or a comment maybe. So for GCP, I reach out to my account rep, sign an NDA, and then they send it to him, and it's a whole day or even over a day usually to get it. So that's really helpful, Dan. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Gabrielle? Besides the fact that, like, where did you get that awesome picture of sharks in the cloud? That was awesome.
Yeah, also from Microsoft.
Oh, I was surprised. That's a great picture. Cool. Okay, any last questions? This is your last chance, folks, unless you just want to ask them in the community, because he'll be there too. He's one of our moderators. He helps run the community. Okay, it looks like we're good. Thank you so much. That was really fun.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.